Hey guys, so this week's product review is on the Landyachtz Dinghy. I've had this board for a couple weeks now and I've had a lot of fun on it. Stoked to bring you guys a review and hope you enjoy it. Bit of a disclaimer, I am sponsored by Landyachtz, but that will not in any way affect the review. I'll be unbiased, honest and critical where I need to be. So let's get into the actual review. So first, let's look at the specs of this deck. It's 28.5 inches long. It has a width of 8 inches. It's made with 7 plies of maple. The concave on this deck is rather mellow. The features are near non-existent. The deck has a single kicktail, but it does have a nose tail that's been sort of rounded out. They're just really there for aesthetic purposes. When it comes to the grip tape, you get fine Landyachtz grip tape. The trucks are bare traditional kingpin trucks. The bearings are bare spaceable bearings. The wheels are 63mm tall Chubby Hawgs, I believe. You get a 1/4 inch riser, and finally the graphic on mine is the Honey Island graphic. So just to give you guys a quick summary, is the dinghy actually good? I'd say yes, it is very good. I've had a lot of fun on this board. As a mini cruiser, it's definitely one of the best that I've tried. I did have to make 1 or 2 changes, namely just tightening the back and flipping the washer in front, both of which I will talk about more in the video. But other than that, I'm pretty happy with it as a mini cruiser. Of course, as a mini cruiser, there are 1 or 2 things that it's not going to be very good for, and there are 1 or 2 things that I'd rather pick other boards for. But as a mini cruiser, the dinghy is excellent, definitely one of the best that I've tried. So the dinghy is a really agile board. It reacts very quickly to your input and changes direction on a dime. This is mainly because of the small trucks. Because the trucks are small, they are able to articulate very quickly and change direction. And also the bushings in the bare TKPs are very soft, like surprisingly soft. So that also allows the board to be very nimble and change direction very quickly. So yeah, you can slalom between objects and dodge people or whatever. It's really fun. However, this is kind of limited by the Chubby Hawgs. They're not very grippy, and when you decide to suddenly dive into the turn, it's like they want to lose grip and the board kind of wants to slip out from under you. So if you turn too quickly or change direction too quickly, the board can slip out from under you and lose traction. You can get the Turbo King dinghy or the Turbo dinghy, which comes with Plow Kings. The Plow King wheels are a lot more grippier than the Chubby Hawgs, and you can change direction with confidence and be confident that the wheels are not going to lose traction or make the board slide out from under you. So yeah, as I said earlier, the bushings are quite soft, and that makes the trucks have a really loose feeling, and I think a lot of people are going to have an issue with that. And by that I mean that they're just going to feel as though the trucks are too loose and too reactive to their input. And what I recommend you do is just maybe tighten the kingpin by about a full turn or maybe 2 turns, and that should really give you the confidence you need to skate this board confidently. I will say if you weigh less than 130 pounds or about 130 pounds, this might not be that much of an issue for you, but tighten it to your preference and taste. So yeah, as loose and as soft as the bushings are, you don't get wheel bite on the dinghy, and I think that's thanks to the wheel wells sanded into the deck and the 1/4 inch riser. But yeah, you don't get wheel bite on the dinghy. I weigh about 70 kilograms. I didn't get wheel bite on it. So if you weigh that much, you won't get wheel bite on the dinghy. If you weigh less, you won't get wheel bite on the dinghy. But maybe if you weigh a lot more, let's say 90 kg, you might get wheel bite. But I don't think most people are going to have an issue with that. All right. So the turning is really smooth on the dinghy, and here's why. So the bare traditional kingpin trucks are very high quality. They come with high quality bushings and high quality pivot, and this just gives you a lot of control and a lot of smoothness when you're engaging the truck. However, the bare TKPs have a flop to turn sort of feel, or rather they lean more than they turn. And when you're actually skating them, this feels as though you're engaging them, you're leaning on them, but they're not turning that much. I personally didn't really like this feeling. I had to do 1 or 2 things to the trucks to get them to perform the way I felt was best for me. What I did was I just tightened the back kingpin a little bit by I think 1 turn or 2 turns, and then in the front I flipped the washer on top, and what this does, it just gives the top bushing more freedom to move, more freedom to squish, and just makes it feel as though it turns more. What that did, it just made it feel as though the board turned more, and that was really nice. It also made it a little bit more stable when skating it downhills and just gave it an overall better feel. And yeah, so the dinghy is quite comfortable to stand on, and here's why I think that is why. So the concave on the dinghy is quite mellow, and it cradles your feet and doesn't really force it into any uncomfortable positions. So I think that aids to the comfortability. And despite being 8 inches, you actually have enough room to sort of stand and relax your feet on this board. However, I have size about 9 US or 10 UK feet, and I think someone with slightly bigger feet is not going to be comfortable on the dinghy. With slightly smaller feet, you are going to be comfortable in it. I did find the dinghy more comfortable to stand on after I made the changes to the bushings and the washer configuration, and here's why. Once I made those changes, it just kind of made the board more stable and easier to keep in a straight line. A big issue with mini cruisers is that, let's say after 10 minutes of skating, they start to feel really uncomfortable and they really tire out your feet. This is because mini cruisers are very agile, and because they're very agile, you have to actively work to keep them going in a straight line. Your feet are always working, and this just tires you out. But by tightening the back a little bit, it made it easier to keep the dinghy going in a straight line, and this just made it more comfortable for myself. Beyond, let's say 10 minutes, beyond, let's say 5 kilometers, 3 miles worth of skating, I would go with a bigger, wider board, something like the Landyachtz Dinghy, for example. The dinghy is surprisingly easy to push, and this is mainly because of the small wheels accelerate really quickly and they hold on to the momentum well. And yeah, it's just really easy to push around. Yeah, I guess I will say that if you're skating really long distances, you're gonna want to go for a board that has slightly bigger wheels that can hold on to the speed more. And despite these accelerating very quickly, they tend to lose speed a little bit quicker than a bigger wheel would. So if you're skating a longer distance, you're going to have to actively push and push and push and push in order to sort of keep that speed up. So is the kicktail on the dinghy usable? I'd say absolutely. I use this to get up curbs, get down curbs. It is usable, it is comfortable, and it is ergonomic. Can you do tricks on the dinghy? I did do a couple ollies, a couple pop shelves, one or two things on the dinghy. If you are a skateboarder, if you know how to do tricks, then you will feel semi-comfortable, maybe bordering on the edge of uncomfortable, doing tricks on this. It is possible. However, it's not the best deck for it, I'd say. Can you learn to do tricks on the dinghy? I'd say yes and no. I was only able to do tricks because I learned everything I knew before on a proper popsicle deck. But if you're completely new, you might have a very steep learning curve trying to learn tricks on the dinghy. I recommend you get a proper popsicle board and learn on that. It's just going to be a steeper learning curve, and there are better boards for that. It's not the sharpest tool for learning tricks, and you can with a lot of difficulty, not gonna lie. So can you slide the Landyachtz Dinghy? Yes, you can. I was sliding it. The Chubby Hawgs slide really well, but at the beginning of the life of the wheel, they weren't sliding very smoothly. But after sliding them a bit, they started to break in and the slide became super smooth. They do honk a lot though and make a lot of noise, so that's something to keep in mind. Can you learn to slide on the dinghy? I'd say no. I'm an experienced downhill skateboarder, a lot of experience sliding on a ton of different boards. For a beginner, they're going to have a hard time learning to slide on this board. It's just going to be very difficult to find the balance of control and that sort of thing. You can learn to slide on it, but the learning curve is going to be quite steep, and there are better tools for the job. So is the Landyachtz Dinghy good for downhill skating? I'd say no, not at all. The reason I say no is because it's a mini cruiser. These boards are just built to be as agile and as nimble as possible, and that just really translates to wobbles when you start picking up speed. Yes, you can tighten down the bushings. Yes, you can make it slightly more stable, but it's just not really built for that type of riding. I can ride the dinghy downhill, but I'm a very experienced rider, and if you're a beginner, your results may vary. You may end up getting hurt. If you want to sort of push your limited speed, like let's say skate faster than 20 miles per hour, then you'd rather pick up a dedicated downhill board or pick up a board that's going to be more stable. Mini cruiser shapes, not just the dinghy, are inherently unstable and unsuited to skating fast. You can skate it down some hills. Maybe if you have a short hill, you can skate it down that fairly comfortably, probably, but it's not really generally good for downhill skating. Is the dinghy good for learning to skate? The answer to that as well is yes and no. Mini cruisers aren't usually the best boards for learning to skate on. They're very reactive to a rider's input, and this really just isn't the best for someone trying to find the balance and trying to learn. So no, they're not really the best beginner boards, but you still can learn on them, but there's going to be a steeper learning curve. I will say that they are excellent options for kids. They're very good for kids because proportionately they're very appropriate for children, and children will have a lot of fun on these, and they're going to enjoy skating and learning on them. So what changes did I make to my dinghy? As I highlighted earlier, I flipped the washer in front just to allow the top bushing more freedom, and I tightened the kingpin in the back, and this just gave it a more forward biased turning and just made it feel as though it turned more and flowed better in and out of the turns, and it really made the general riding experience feel better for me. And I recommend you experiment with the same and just see how that pans out for you. Might improve your riding experience, you never know. The next thing I'm going to be looking at is the components of the dinghy. So first, let's look at the trucks. Are the trucks high quality? Yes, the trucks are high quality. They come with high quality bushings and high quality pivots, which just allows you to have a smooth controlled turn, and it doesn't suddenly twitch or suddenly change direction without your consent. The trucks are quite high quality. The finishing is quite good, and they're made with squeeze casting technology or whatever, and the aluminum is heat treated. This just means they're strong and that can really stand any abuse you throw at them. So are the wheels on the Landyachtz Dinghy good? Yes, they're high quality Hawgs wheels. They accelerate very quickly, they roll very fast, and they keep the speed pretty well for a 60mm wheel. And because they're also soft, they absorb a lot of road vibration and that you get from a lot of road imperfections, whether the road is just rough. And they can also roll over like pebbles and other muck in the road pretty easily, because they are slightly bigger at 63mm. And sick tip, by the way, if you want to roll over pebbles or do some dirt riding, the key thing is having momentum and weight management on your deck. So if there's like a pebble in the road, where you want to put your weight, you want to put about 80% of your weight on your back foot, and this just really allows you to power through everything and almost anything really. And you also just have to make sure you have enough momentum. With those two things, you can do dirt rides, you can roll over most pebbles with ease really. Go out there and try roll over your local pebbles and show them who's boss. The bearings are pretty great too. The dinghy comes with best baseball bearings. I will say when you start using this wheel, a little bit of lubricant is going to leak out, which is just the excess, and that's just really what happens with all best baseball bearings. I recommend you wipe around the bearing cage and just clean it up a little bit, otherwise gunk is going to collect there and make your wheel look bad. If you don't care, it's not really going to affect performance, to be honest. It's just something nice to do to get your stuff looking fresh. So is the price of the dinghy fair? I would say yes. You're looking to pay anywhere between $129 to $150 for this longboard. Given how quality this is and given how well it rides, I'd say the price is absolutely fair. A few years ago, a few months ago, if you asked me, I would have said no, it's not fair, but that was purely speculation. But actually having ridden this deck and having had as much fun as I have on it, I absolutely think the price is fair. Also, if it's something you're going to be riding every other day for 2 years, you know, it's an investment. It's an investment in your happiness. It's an investment in something that makes you smile. So yes, the price is worth it. If you want to buy the Landyachtz Dinghy, there's a link in the bio. Check that good stuff out. So what didn't I like about the dinghy? There's a lot of things that I don't like about mini cruisers, generally speaking, namely because after 10 minutes, they don't really feel that great to ride. And after, let's say, 5 kilometers, they don't feel the best to ride. But as a mini cruiser, I think the dinghy is really great. There's not a lot that I didn't like about it, if I'm being honest, apart from the whole thing with the trucks and how they turn, but it was easy enough to fix. But other than that, there's not much that I don't like about it. What's the best use case for the dinghy? So the dinghy is really going to be best for those short skates under 10 minutes long, under 5 kilometers long, where you just really need a longboard to carry you over a short distance very quickly. For example, you know, you need to commute between classes across campus, or you need to get down to the coffee shop to grab a coffee or grab a beer or like some last minute groceries or whatever. The dinghy is going to be excellent for messing around on. Like, let's say you have a little bit of time and just want something to have fun on. It's going to be excellent for being portable and for easy storage and being really discreet when you have to carry it around. Because of how small it is, carrying it on a bus is a really easy task. Some longer boards really get in the way when you have to carry them, but carrying this when you're in a queue, when you're in the bus, wherever you need to be, it's really discreet and portable. It's not going to be the best for sliding downhill and skating fast. You know, you'll be better off picking boards built for that type of skating. It's going to be an excellent board for kids. So yeah. So who should buy the dinghy? I think if you're a kid wanting a beginner board, if you're someone looking for a very comfortable mini cruiser, if you're looking for a portable, easy to store board, if you want a board that is fun to mess around on when you have a little bit of time to skate, if you need a transportation option to quickly take you over a mile, a few miles, the dinghy is excellent for that. If you need a board to take you across campus quickly, And if you want to buy someone an awesome present or someone a board that's going to look good on a wall and it's going to be fun to skate, then the Dinghy is actually a great option. I'm a big fan of the Dinghy graphics. I really think they look great. And for people who aren't going to be skating all the time, having this hanging up somewhere going to be pretty awesome. Right, so who shouldn't get the Dinghy? So the Dinghy isn't right for you if you primarily want to do downhill skating, tricks, or sliding. Don't get the Dinghy if you want to commute over 3 miles or 5 kilometers with it. They're going to be better boards suited to that type of skating that are going to be easier to skate. They're going to be more expensive or less if you buy secondhand, but they're better boards for that will make you happier. Finally, don't buy the Dinghy if you have really huge feet. I reckon people with really big feet might not be very comfortable on it. You might be better off with a wider board like the Landyachtz Tugboat or the Fireball Artist Series Cruiser. So yeah, so what do you think? Is the Dinghy the right board for you after this review? If you've had experience skating this board, leave a comment below. I'm interested to see what you have to say. Did my review match your experience? And just generally comment and just vibe with us. Vibe with me. Let me see what you got to say. So yeah, thanks for watching this review. Big thanks to my Patreons. Big thanks to Skateboarders HQ for sending me this board. I was asking around for a Dinghy to review, and my friend over at Skateboarders HQ had an extra board and he was kind enough to send it over. So big thanks to that guy. And if you want to check out reviews on mini cruises as well, check him out. Big thanks to my Patreon as well. I'm able to make reviews because those guys support me. And if you want to support me, check out the Downhill 254 Patreon. Thanks for watching this review and see you all next time.